All right, welcome back to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are back in studio after a wild and eventful day in the NFL, which I can say that every week, and every week it's true. We've started with the Eagles and Jaguars in London, ended with the Vikings and Saints in Minnesota, and everything in between made for a pretty fun week. I thought I did pretty well this week in my picks, but it sounds like Token did just as well. He picked and chose his spots or his locks and blinds in the right spots, but that's okay. And we got my buddy Spike over here, who is still wallowing in the depths of despair, also known as the negative numbers.
I think I'm just going to start betting college and not pay attention to the pros anymore, because I clearly don't know what the fuck I'm doing this season.
Hey, Spike, if we're golfing, you're looking good.
Not in the Stableford, though. In the Stableford, you're looking real bad.
Yeah.
Is it Stableford? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Stableford, yeah.
Yeah, 5 points for Eagle, 2 for Birdie.
Yeah, Stableford is where the scores are plus in golf.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's being plus is good, and you get more points, for Eagles and stuff. Anyways, you would not be doing good in Stableford, but in regular Professional Golfers Association, you'd be great at. What are you now?
I'm 4 under par right now.
4 under par. That's a good way to put it. All right, well, this is the NFL recap show, as we do every week here on the Vegas Squares podcast. We are brought to you by 12 Ounce Sports Radio. We are broadcast right now on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, as we are every Monday, every Thursday, every Saturday, and every Sunday. We thank the guys over there for putting us on and listening to our dribble. And we also want to thank VGK Pop Sockets, and we also want to thank ShyPoker.com, who, as soon as we get some information on their tournament, we are going to give you that information if you are going to be in the Vegas area in December and want to play some poker for a good cause. While we have a couple minutes here on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, let's talk about the Pats and the Bills. Line currently still 14. Total has now moved to 44.5. However, when we made the picks, it was 44. Spike, you want to remind the listeners of what we have as far as our picks for our season-long bet?
Sure. So Aaron and I both did a chicken shit bet where we took New England money line. Aaron, you have made
I like to think of it as strategic.
Yeah, it's chicken shit. So you made that your lock of the week. So you have a 3-point swing either way. If New England loses, you're losing 3 points on that one.
Dear Jesus.
I have New England money line for me is my blind bet, which means I get 2 points if they win. I don't lose anything if they lose. Tony actually went to the total and went over 44 in this game.
Yeah, this feels like a spot. No, I mean, I'm not just respecting your pick, but it feels like a spot. The Patriots have put up 38-plus in, 4 straight games?
Yes.
This feels like a spot where they're going to put up another 38, but I don't see the Bills getting...
Yeah, that's the problem. The Bills have to score in order for this to come in for
I don't see them getting across that charity stripe anytime in this game. But who knows? The NFL's funky.
Maybe New England puts up 50 by themselves, so...
That's a possibility as well. Hell, maybe Josh Allen makes a stone-cold-like entrance out to the ring in the second half, and they come back. That's the beauty of the NFL. You never really quite know what's going to happen. This game, obviously, in the beginning of the season, looked like more of a marquee matchup. Obviously, we wouldn't have put it on Monday Night Football if it wasn't. You have 2 playoff contenders from last year who are going in far different directions as the Pats keep rolling. And I know that Spike over here likes to keep trolling our writer Vincent Pensabene on his Doomsday article that he wrote, what was that, about a month ago?
Every goddamn year, the Patriots get off to a slow start. And every hack, every wannabe, every blogger trying to make a name for themselves puts out a hit piece on the Patriots saying, this is it, the dynasty's over, they're done, they can't do this, the offense looks bleak, blah, 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 blah.
Just sex sell, Spike.
It's verbal diarrhea every single year. And it's just mesmerizing to me when the Patriots finally hit their stride and start looking like the Patriots again.
Yeah.
That none of them offer retractions, none of them offer apologies. They just crawl back into their mama's basement, sucking on her teats and trying to get pat on the head saying,
Sounds
you
like a
write
fun
so well, good boy. Oh, good
It'll be all right. It'll be all
good
right.
boy.
Oh.
Hence, if you like the New England future bets, at the time.
Well, Vin, I know you got a new podcast called the Long Islander Podcast. If you'd love to offer your rebuttal to Mr. Spike over here, because now he's sitting on...
What a fucking surprise! An Italian from New York. Wow! Way to break the stereotype, buddy.
Surprised this name's not Tony.
Fucking Christ.
Now I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
I don't care.
And if you like New England future bets, wait till the end of September to take them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious what they fell at after that. After they went 1-2 and the sky
I believe
fell.
10-1 at one point.
Yeah, even at 1-2, Patriots future bets will only go down to the low double digits at that point. Anyways, the point being I was going to make is if he can offer his rebuttal to you, because you're sitting on cloud 9, because also the Red Sox are world champions as well tonight. So it's a fun week for Boston sports, and hopefully they can cap it off with a crushing victory, but very low total in Monday Night Football, so that I can take the lead. So on our season long bet, we're gonna I'm sticking with Pat's money line lock. You're sticking with Pat's 44.5. You still like the over?
Yeah. Are we making him take the hook?
Or 44? That's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say he locked it at 44 on the Sunday podcast.
All right. Are there any keys, Token, as the devil's advocate here? Any keys to the Bills being able to help push this total if the Patriots can't do it?
Got to put up points, I mean.
Okay, sorry, I guess I didn't.
Yeah, you asked the wrong guy on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Patriots score consistently and just move the ball into the end zone, so maybe the Bills score once or twice and just push it over. So
now, Spike, this reminds me kind of the game, what was that, 2 weeks ago, where it was Packers and Niners? And it was like, Packers and a laugher, to take a quote out of your book.
Yes.
Are we going to see that again this week, or is there any chance the Bills... I mean 14's a lot of points.
Yeah, no, and there's a chance, Derek Anderson has an extra week to learn the playbook, especially before they trade for Jameis Winston and he becomes the starter in Buffalo.
Yeah, before they have to give up a 6th-round pick.
What's the status on LaShawn McCoy? I assume he's healthy enough to go, correct?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that really tells me that he's not.
Okay. I haven't been paying attention to the injury report, so I figured you might know more than I do on that.
Let's see. I mean, I don't think I have anything. Even with that, I mean, Chris Ivory's still a decent back. I mean, right. I understand that.
So, the point is, I mean, this is kind of the cliche. The way to beat Tom Brady is to keep him off the field. If Buffalo can get a running game going, they can control the clock a little bit, keep Brady off the field, maybe keep it to within 10 or 12 points and hit that, or come in under that 14 number. I don't know that Buffalo can score. I mean, even if they can drive down the field, I can't imagine them getting in the end zone. They might be able to put up a field goal or two on their own, but...
Well, the question mark really now is, more so than LaShawn McCoy playing or not playing, is the Patriots have finally kind of established a running game, and now that running game's out. Michel is week to week, not playing this week. He did practice, but I guess they downgraded him from doubtful to out, which means the practice didn't go as well as the coaching staff had hoped.
No, but, I mean, it's sort of good news, bad news for Sony Michel. When that injury happened, the way that he got off the field, the way he looked, the way that the knee kind of twisted, I could have sworn I would have bet money that it was ACL. It looked gross. It didn't look like he was going to be able to play at all again this year. Everything has come back positive for the Patriots. It looks like he's going to be able to play at some point again this year, hopefully sooner rather than later. You're right, the practice didn't go as well this week, so they do have to declare him out. That may just be precautionary. If this was a game against somebody like the Chiefs or Pittsburgh, or a game where they actually needed that extra offensive weapon, they might try to get him to go. But a game against the Bills that's maybe more of a throwaway game, they're going to give him an extra week to rest.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm looking at for my fantasy perspective. I'm up by 9 points, and the guy's only got Ken John Barner left, so it feels like a win, but you never quite know.
Yeah.
All it takes is for that guy to break one. So, anyways, that game should be starting here. If you're listening on 12 on Sports Radio, it should be starting here in just a few minutes. Reminder: we've got the lock of the week, the going out on a limb, the low-hanging fruit, Patriots money line. Let's pick it against the spread. No, not for our bet, but do you think that the Pats cover the 14 points?
Yeah. I don't see why not. So
It's on the road in Buffalo. It's going to be snowy. Not that they're not used to that weather, but they're without the main cog in their running game. Gronk's probably going to be back. I believe he's going to play this trip. I believe he's from Buffalo, so this is kind of a home game for him.
He is from the Buffalo area originally. Yeah, you're right. 14's a big number, but there's nothing that Buffalo has done that really makes me think that they can stick with this, especially with Derek Anderson starting. I could see them keeping it to within 10 or 12, like I said before, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like, if I were going to the window on this one, I would be taking the Pats minus the 14.
Fair enough. The biggest degenerate in Las Vegas once told me, always take home dogs on primetime games that are getting 4 or more points. So I'll take the Bills just because that guy's the big degen and he's a good friend, and it seems to work, actually, sometimes. So,
saying there's a chance.
Saying there's a chance.
Goddamn stupid fucking.
Wonder who that person is. I think I might know them.
I don't know, Spike looks troubled.
I'm upset with Yahoo Fantasy, but about hockey, not football. So that's another issue for another day.
Oh, it's because your team sucks. Actually, your team's in first place.
Third now.
Ah,
but I thought I set my roster for today. Apparently, I didn't. So
life sucks sometimes.
yeah, what are you gonna do? I didn't lose anything.
All right, let's move into the football games. We'll start with our year-long bet here that we have here on Vegas Squares. For those who don't know, or for those who have just tuned in, or for those who listen to our podcast drunk and need a reminder, Spike's going to give that to you.
So we're taking a line on every game, whether that be against the spread, a money line pick, or a total pick. You get 1 point if you get it right. You lose a point if you get it wrong. You're allowed one lock of the week, which is a 3-point swing either way. You can also do a blind bet for those games where you just have no idea what the possible outcome could be. That gets you 2 points if you're right, 0 points if you're wrong. We throw in random shit occasionally, too, like we had the first half bets. We just did this week for the first time a favorite that loses by 2 or more touchdowns, getting you 2 points or no points. We can go into how
I did a Spike's charity bet that he lost.
I was the only one.
He was the only one to lose.
Even though I even said I wanted to take Baltimore with token, but
you could have taken them.
Yeah, that's not. Anyway, so we do things like that, and we've been keeping track throughout the throughout the season since week 2. We missed week 1 to do this, but since week 2 we've been keeping track of this. Right now, I am in dead last. Like I said, I'm in 4 under par. Coming into week 8. Aaron was in second place with 16 points, and Token was in the lead at 19 points. And then the games today.
And then the games begin. Speaking of games beginning, I think you might have been the only one awake for this matchup, because after we recorded, I took some heavy dosage of drowsiness drugs for my allergies and slept all the way until about 10:15 this morning. So I got about 11 and a half hours of sleep. Needless to say, I missed this game because it was played in London. The Jaguars were kind of in a tumultuous week in London. I guess they couldn't handle themselves with all those British girls around with their fantastic smiles and their armpit hair. But they were losers, but only by 6. The Eagles were victorious to put them at 4-4. The Jaguars have now lost 4 straight. 24-18 was the final. From the recap I read, it never really seemed like the Eagles were in jeopardy in this game.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I mean, ultimately, it wasn't a very thrilling game or anything. I mean, it's pretty basic Phillies Jags game, especially across the pond. Caught all of it.
Well, this is the only time this has ever happened, so I'm not sure if it's a basic game.
Well, I mean, across the pond in London, Jacksonville usually keeps the totals low, marginally close, and that's pretty much what it was. I mean, Philly barely covered by 2. I think all of us hit on this game, so.
Spike, remind the listeners how we had this game.
Yeah, so Token took Philadelphia minus the 4 points. You went with Philadelphia money line. I actually went under the total. When we recorded, it was at 44. So all 3 of us gained a point on this game.
Nice. So you have a couple of things here. Carson Wentz, another good game. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 286 yards. Again, they got out to a 10-6 halftime lead, 17-6. Never really had to be threatened because although Blake Bortles had a decent game, 286 and 1 touchdown, offense really couldn't get it going. Blake Bortles, again, this is a reoccurring problem. He is the leading rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe that's like the 3rd game this year.
Yeah, and that's definitely a cause for concern. I mean, if Fournette was here, maybe that'd be a different story. But, I mean, you have Yeldon and Hyde now, so, I mean...
8 carries, 18 yards for those two.
Yeah, that's definitely a cause for concern for the struggling Jags team, so...
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't watch too much. I read the recap. It's a backwards statistical sheet. You have Blake Bortles leading the team in rushing and T.J. Yeldon leading the team in receptions. So I would like to retract part of my statement with Blake Bortles and the fact that I still don't believe he's a top-tier starting quarterback in this league, top 15, top 20. However, I look at the weapons around him, and it just screams scout team.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement for sure. I mean, do you think this offensive line needs some improvement too? I mean,
offensive line is fine. I mean, their offensive line, they paid a lot of money to them. I just think they have very timid runners who don't. I mean, Fournette's huge. Fournette's big.
Yeah, him not healthy is definitely the cornerstone for them. So,
well, it's so strange to have a team that. One of the recaps that I read, Jacksonville goes to London all the time. Philadelphia has never been there. Jacksonville got booed when they came out onto the field, and Philadelphia was cheered. So it was very
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very strange to see that, especially people actually receiving a team from Philadelphia well. But it's also weird with Jacksonville that not only is Blake Bortles the leading rusher, but he's trying to beat teams with his arm. Even as a leading rusher, he only put up, 43 yards. You're not entirely sure that he's going to be playing the whole game. We've seen him get benched already once this year.
Right.
So it's not like that's out of the realm of possibility at this point. So,
but, I mean, I look at what he did, and it's just, like I said, it screams scout team on the offense, and the defense missing a lot of their cornerbacks in their secondary. On top of that, they're just not what they were last year.
Sure, but
and they're playing a first place schedule.
But even with all the people that they were missing on defense, they still held Philadelphia to 24 points. And if Jacksonville is as good as they should be, or as good as we thought they were at the beginning of the year, they should be beating teams when the opponent is putting up 24 points. So,
yeah,
Blake Bortles,
that's tough.
I mean, saying that he has scout team type talent around him is fine, but Brady had that for at least half of his career. No, but I'm saying if a quarterback is going to be good, they have to make the players around them better.
Good or great?
If they're even going to be good at the NFL level and have a consistent, good, long career, they have to make the players around them better. And if these guys aren't good, it's up to Blake Bortles to put them in positions to succeed and make them better.
All right, so
he's not doing
Let's take Brady, let's take Rodgers out of the equation. Who are quarterbacks that make their team better at this juncture? Pat Mahomes?
Mahomes?
Okay. Jared Goff?
Probably.
I would disagree. But I'm curious. Deshaun Watson?
No.
Okay. Andrew Luck? I would say yes.
Luck, yeah.
So there's not, I mean, I don't want to go through 32 teams here, but there's not a terribly large amount of quarterbacks that make their team better. But there are a terribly large amount of quarterbacks that can. Blake Bortles reminds me, if he has the proper elements in place, he can be Alex Smith.
Okay.
He's got to cut down the turnovers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, at 3-5, these guys are still not out of it. They've lost 4 in a row. They go to the Colts. They got the Steelers. This team might be 3-7.
And it's still crazy to think that even at 3-7, they might not be out of it in the AFC South.
Well, that all depends on what Houston can do the next 2 weeks. If they're 7-3, because I believe these two might. When do these two teams play each other again? Last week of the season.
Oof.
So I think it's just the benefits. You look at this. It's the NFL. You look at this team. Houston's in first, 4th place schedule. Jacksonville's in last, 1st place schedule. from year to year, things don't always go right. And when things do go right, like their defense being number one in all statistical categories, having a guy like Leonard Fournette who ran over everybody last year, expectation and reality can be quite different, especially when Fournette hasn't played since, what, week 3? 2 or 3?
3, yeah. And, yeah, he barely played week 3. He played like a quarter and a half.
But, I mean, you have a team who, let's see, they're 3-5. What's that, 8 games? 170 divided by 8. They're giving up 21 points a game on defense. Let's see, who have they beaten? The Jets, the Patriots, and the Giants. And the Patriots they beat at a time, like we said, that the Patriots get out slow. They're just getting beat by teams that are equal to or better than them. The problem is they're getting beat by teams that are equal to by a lot of points, like the Cowboys and the Texans. And the teams that are better than them, Chiefs, Eagles, and, well, I mean, the Titans are basically right on par with them.
Yeah, but that Titans game was a 9-6 slugfest, too, don't forget. It's not like exciting football.
And the Jags were a big favorite in that game, I believe.
That obviously drags down their points per game average as well. So you could officially throw that game out the window. They're a team that's given up a lot of points. In the last 4 weeks, they've given up, 70, 90, 114 points in 4 weeks. So things aren't going right, and as much as, like I said, I've made my comment on Blake Bortles, but he's not the only issue in there. But as the team goes, the quarterback goes, and you can't bench everybody. So, all right. Well, that was a lot more Jacksonville Jaguar football talk than I expected to start this podcast with. But let's move forward to Jets and Bears, and let's remind the picks for the listeners.
Sure, if I can find it on. Oh, there we go. It is Token went with the total over 42.5. Aaron and I were on the same side of this one. Jets +9.
So we all got a Zippo on this one.
Yeah.
And your bold prediction didn't come through that the Bears would be exposed.
Yeah, no, that didn't work either.
That's okay. You don't lose points for that.
Thank you.
I mean, there's not really a lot to say about this game. It was kind of statistically mundane. Mitch Trubisky, 220 and two touchdowns, had a completion percentage pretty poor. But at the same side, you got the rookie Sam Darnold, who just has no offensive line to block for him, and it also showed up in their rushing game, whereas Sam Darnold was almost the leading rusher for the Jets. Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard create a 1-2 punch that reminds me of Ron Dane and Tiki Barber, although Tariq Cohen is way faster than Tiki Barber.
Yeah, that is very true. With Tariq having 1 reception for 70 yards, that was a big play for the Bears.
I would say so. It was a touchdown.
Yeah.
But, if they can get Jordan Howard somewhere in these 20 carry range for 90 yards, a touchdown would be great. That really controls a lot for Trubisky.
Yeah, it definitely helps the Bears manage the clock and open up their pass on key third down plays if needed, or causes third and short situations like 3rd and 2s.
Yeah, and the Jets are going to keep muddling along this season. There's not much in the cupboard. Sam Darnold's going to struggle, and it would really suck if the Lions missed the playoffs by 1 game, and it's that game that they got torched by the Jets in the opening week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an ugly one. And the thing with the Jets is I think people knew going into the season that winning wasn't going to be a priority for them. They wanted to see what Darnold could do. They wanted to see where the weaknesses were and how they could build around Darnold and what they needed. They thought they had the 2-headed running attack with Crowell and Bilal Powell. They're not great. They're fine. They're serviceable, but Powell being out definitely hurts them because Crowell can't carry the load on his own.
No.
And, we saw that in part today with him going 13 carries for 25 yards.
Big numbers.
Yeah, that's not ideal for the Jets. That's not how you win a lot of games. Them sitting at 3-5, they never had a chance to win the division anyway. So this is a team that is building for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like a good possible future for the Jets. I mean, if they get a few good wide receivers, maybe beef up their secondary defense, might come in handy.
Yeah, so I mean, now you have the Bears going forward. They are 4-3. What is that? Is that good for first in the division?
Ties them with Minnesota because they're
because of that tie.
Yeah.
By the way, I somehow did a futures bet on the Bears under 6.5 wins for the season. I don't remember doing it. I don't know why I did it.
Yeah, you did, because I took the Bears over 7 or over.
Did I?
Was that worth anything to us?
I don't know if it's worth anything in the contest, but I actually have money
you
on
bet
it.
that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet the Bears over 6.5. I think you bet it after we talked about it on the podcast because you, laughed in my face.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't think that Mitchell Trubisky would be any good.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, they're not there yet.
Whoops.
Still got,
He's not great, but he's looking
good enough.
Yeah, he's looking like a good piece of their offense. So
he's fast. He actually, It was funny. I was watching this game through the red zone, and when they panned on him from the camera that kind of glides throughout the field, you know what I'm talking about? The overhead camera?
yeah,
I looked at him, and it was kind of ironic because Tony Romo was doing the game. If you look at him, he looks like Tony Romo. It's the weirdest thing.
probably a better version of him too.
Well, I don't know. I'm one of the guys that were higher on Tony Romo than probably other people.
I think Tony Romo was good, but
He's
I think
more athletic than Tony Romo, I would give you that.
Yeah.
He's definitely got legs. It's crazy. Look in this division. I mean, you have the Vikings and the Packers who literally are their point differential is 2. They're +2. And then you have the Bears who are +50 in point differential. A lot of that's in the Bucs game, and they won 48-10. But
Yeah, I mean that's still due to their defense keeping opponents to minimal points, except in a few games.
yeah,
Like
and
the
they did all
Dolphins
that.
and
They did all that today without Khalil Mack too. Khalil Mack didn't play today.
Yeah,
And even when he has played the last couple of games,
He's been pretty non-existent.
Yeah.
yeah.
So who do the Bears have next? We've got.
I think they have the Bills, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct. They got Buffalo, so that could probably put them to. Do they have a 4-game stretch of playing all AFC East teams?
They might.
I think they did. I think they just played 4 AFC East. I think they just played the whole AFC East in a month
Wow.
because they lost to the Dolphins 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then they played
Yeah,
the Patriots.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the Jets.
Yeah,
I think they
that's
just
true.
played. I think
Yeah.
they just.
Wow.
I think they have a bye week in between. I think they just played the AFC East all in the span of a month.
Huh.
Yeah, they had the bye before the right between the Dolphins and Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. And then now they got the Bills to finish up, and then the big 3-game stretch for them. If they're 5-3, they go Lions, Vikings at Lions. So
Yeah.
Oof.
that'll be probably a division kind of
Tone for them, yeah.
catalyst or tone
If
setter.
they get out 2-1 in that, I mean, I like their shot to win the division.
Well, if they get out
so.
7-4 in that spot, yeah, they got a tough one behind them though. They got the Rams, Packers, and the Vikings. So those three games right there, Lions, Vikings, Lions. If they could go 3-0 and be 8-3, that would be huge for them.
Yeah.
And the Lions are just a team to let them do it. Speaking of Lions, let's go to that game. I know you're just dying to talk about it there, Token, so I'll let you preface it. I'll just say that the Seahawks beat the Lions 28-14. Spike will recap the picks, and then you can defend your beloved Detroit football.
Yeah, and I think I should have known better because Token and I were on the same side of this. We both had Detroit minus the 3. And when
How dare you go against my wife?
a self-loathing Lions fan says, give me the Lions as a favorite, I should have run like hell and joined Aaron taking Seattle plus the 3 on this one. But unfortunately, Token and I went down. Aaron went up on this one.
And with an extra 2 bonus points,
Got the
too.
bonus. True.
And the bonus, yes, the what favorite could lose
By 2 or more
two
touchdowns.
touchdowns or more.
Yeah, and this is one that I actually took down to the window, too, when I was up in the morning catching the Jags game. I was at Gold Coast. And
What did you do last night after we recorded? Because you told me you didn't go to sleep until the 1 o'clock games today.
Yeah.
So what does Token Tony do Saturday night into Sunday morning with a London game?
I don't know. I went over to Red Rock for a little bit and then went home, did some laundry, still up and about, went to Liberty Hill, and then went to Gold Coast.
I call bullshit on the laundry. Actually, you know what? He may have done the laundry, but I went over to his house the other day, and it looked like laundry was everywhere.
Some of that was clean.
Oh, okay, fair.
Some of
That's why I
it
said,
was clean,
that's why I said it's
okay.
fair. He may have done the laundry, but he hasn't folded. I think folding is completing the process. That's like a catch in the NFL. You have to complete the process, Toby.
I own full clothes, though.
Yeah, we can tell. Anyways, so is this just too much riding high on the Lions? I mean, they've looked good in certain spots. They look.
I think last week when they played a complete game, if they would have done this again this week, it might have set a better tone for them, but they definitely didn't show up for 2, actually even 3 of the quarters. So
The thing that made me sad is, and I know they got him involved in the passing game, but Was it just they got down too much too fast? But Kerryon Johnson with 8 carries, that's a problem after he's been kind of crushing for the last 3 weeks.
Well, when they were up early, they should have relied on the run, and they were going past first down, and that was not the good tone that they should have been in. So hopefully Patricia can set the tone with learning from his mistakes and get the W next week. So
yeah, and the thing is, I know, and I'm going to toot Russell Wilson's horn, but I love the fact that he has...
Yeah, we know you're going to toot his horn.
tongue punch his fart box a little bit. Anyways, he's got a...
How old are we? Jesus Christ, I'm immature.
This many.
it's written green crayon.
Yeah. When you're ready. I like the fact that this Chris Carson guy has been able to make fans forget about the pick of Rashard Penny in the first round and actually become that first round back. That, I mean, this guy's over the last 4 weeks has been pretty damn incredible. And obviously, I've already shown my love for Tyler Lockett. Doug Baldwin getting back into the offense is pretty big. And this David Moore guy has been actually pretty good as far as a third/second wide receiver. Lockett, you got the deep threat. Russell Wilson's getting weapons back. And the thing is for as much as people said he had none, even in the Super Bowl years, it was pretty much Doug Baldwin and that was it. So now I feel like he's got more weapons now during his 2018 campaign than he really did during those Super Bowl years. I mean, you had, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, it was Doug Baldwin and during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was Baldwin and
the kind of bobbling one?
Yeah, that was Curse.
The crazy sideline catch there that made me smash a remote.
Yeah, actually, I think I did too in that one. So
yeah, I mean, nobody could blame you for smashing a remote on that because it just felt like it was happening again, which I think is exactly what I was babbling.
That's exactly what I said too, and I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna lose on another crazy ass play because it was Mario Manningham on the one, David Tyree on the other, and fucking was not Javon Curse. What was his name? Jermaine Curse.
Jermaine Curse, yeah. But no, I don't know. The thing with Russell Wilson, back in those older Super Bowl teams, those teams were built defense first, and this team isn't necessarily. I mean, not to say that their defense is as bad as people expected it to be.
It's just not as good as them.
Yeah, it's not nearly as good. So I think that Russell Wilson has to do more, and he has to have more and better weapons, which he seems to. I mean, he has pretty decent weapons around him. I think the key for him for the rest of the year is going to be cutting down on the sacks, whether that is working better with his offensive line or doing more with trying to get swing play or wheel plays, like doing something to get him where he's not in a position where he's going to get run over. His last year he had 43 sacks. This year he's already up to 21. He's got to be able to stay upright to keep this team competitive, especially late, especially for a guy that's mobile that may not necessarily be able to stay healthy through an entire year if he keeps running around like a maniac back there.
Yeah, and I think what is key for him to be successful this year is getting the short passes and letting the receivers do the work.
Well, the thing is, yeah, you're right. I mean, they're 4-3 right now. They're clicking. I would say clicking on all cylinders. I mean, they've looked good against. They looked good in their last 5 games. They looked good against the Cowboys. They looked good against the Cardinals in the win. They looked good in the loss to the Rams, and they looked good in the last 2 against the Raiders and the Lions. The problem is their next 4, they go home versus the Chargers, at Rams, home versus the Packers, at Panthers. So that's the meat and bones of their schedule right there.
Yeah, I could see them going 0-4. I could see them going 3-1. I mean,
yeah, that's going to be the dictator of their schedule. All right, well, let's move forward into Broncos and Chiefs because this was a fun one in terms of our picks.
Well, it was a fun. You're saying it's a fun one because you were the only one to actually gain a point in this.
That's true, fair enough.
But the two of you actually went on opposite sides of the total. The total was 53.5. The game ended at 53 with Aaron taking the under, coming out with the point. Token losing a point, obviously, for taking the over. I took Kansas City minus the 10, and that also kind of screwed me up.
First spread they didn't cover this year.
Yeah, first against the spread they lost.
Because you picked them.
Which I thought Kansas City towards the end with like 30 seconds left would kick that field goal from the opponent 27, and they decide to punt it.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, and that's to be expected with an Andy Reid-led team, that they are going to do really weird shit at some point. In this case, it didn't cost them. Later in the season, it might.
Fair enough. Actually, I mean, you had good offensive games from pretty much everybody on the Chiefs. A stat I found very telling, and I'm sure Tony Johnson will love this. Case Keenum is the only quarterback in the NFL to throw an interception in every single game this year. Only starting quarterback to throw an interception in every single game this year.
Wow, that's very interesting.
So, I mean, what do you say about Kansas City? It hasn't already been said. They're 7-1, 4-0 at home. I mean, when Tyreek Hill only has 70 yards and no touchdowns, Sammy Watkins shows up, 107 and 2 touchdowns. Kelsey, 80 and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 86 total yards and a touchdown. Pat Mahomes, 4 more scores. What do you do? What do you do?
I don't know. And the next 2 games are against the Browns and the Cardinals. So you have
leading up to that Rams matchup, right?
Well, yeah, right before the Rams matchup, and then
how many total points do you think they score combined in those 2 games?
170, and then they have
we should make that a little prop bet.
After the Rams, they have Oakland. So 3 of their next 4 games should be cakewalks. They are significantly better than those 3. The Rams game might be the one that really screws them up. Oh, and they have a bye week over Thanksgiving as well. What in the hell? Look, listen, we have something called professionalism around here, buddy.
It's around here, but it ain't here in the studio. Sorry,
that shit's in the bathroom.
Yeah. All right, no. So they're going to Cleveland next week, and then they come home against the Cardinals.
Right. So those are 2 games that they should win, and win pretty easily.
Everybody make a pick on how many points they score. If you're within plus or minus 2, you get a point.
I'm going to say 82.
That was close to what I was going to say.
In those 2 games?
In those 2 games.
You're taking 82. I will go... I'll go 75.
Damn, those are 2 guesses I was going to get. Well, I guess the only thing to do would be to go 78 right there.
I knew you were going to go right in the middle.
All right, write those down.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to put it on the...
What, free 2 points?
1 point.
1 point.
Free 1 point. Their total points of the Chiefs in the next 2 weeks against the Browns and Cardinals.
Oh, so the total will be 80, and Spike will get 0, and we'll each get 1.
Yeah,
that works.
Right.
That works, yeah. I figure I got your low ball and I got his high ball.
So and for those that are curious, the line for next week is already opened. Kansas City opened as a 10.5-point favorite. That line has already been bet down to 8.
Wow.
That's
the total.
Total opened at 52. That's solid at 52 right now.
Fair enough. The Broncos, they're 3-5, 1-3 away from home. I mean, they had a pretty good offensive day. 262 from Keenum, 189 yards rushing, which is, again, the product of the Kansas City defense cannot stop anybody. But, that being said, does Denver feels like they're out of this race in the AFC West?
Oh, yeah, because if it's not Kansas City, it's got to be the Chargers.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would think 7-1, 5-2, you're sitting comfortably in third, 3 games behind that team. Well,
right.
2.5.
So, yeah, this is not a spot where I expect anybody except, I actually, even after the Chiefs game against the Patriots, I said the Chargers should be able to win the AFC West. I haven't actually looked at the schedules to back that up, but it feels like a spot where the Chargers might be able to sneak in and kind of take over. If you look at points for, points against, obviously the Chiefs are putting up 290
They're
points.
100 points above.
They're 100 points above the Chargers, but they've also given up 42 points more than what the Chargers have given up. So, the Chiefs are really going to, if they want to...
I've got the schedules up here, too.
Yeah, I've seen the Chiefs one, obviously, we just talked about it. The Chargers one I haven't looked at, but the Chargers are doing better than I expected, and I shit on the Chargers every chance I get. I am trying to get better about that.
Well, their next few, again, they're 5-2. Their next few are at Seahawks, at Raiders, versus Broncos, versus Cardinals. So that's actually their next 4, excuse me, not the next 2. They could realistically be 3-1 in that spot, and they could go up to Seattle. The only one I see that would be a test would be going up to Seattle. They could win that one, too. I mean, if they're 9-2 by that point, then they go Steelers, Bengals, Chiefs, Ravens, which is tough.
That is tough, yeah.
Steelers, Bengals, Chiefs, Ravens, Broncos to finish out the season. 3 out of 5 on the road. So, yeah, it'd be imperative for them to be at 9-2 or 8-3, just for a playoff spot. I mean, that's tough to catch the Chiefs. We talked about the Chiefs. What do we say? They've got Browns, Cardinals coming up to the Rams at Raiders. So that's their next 4.
Right.
They could easily be 10-2. So what do we say? The 9-2 Chargers, 10-2. There's got to be a bye week in there too, right? Oh, the bye week's after the Rams game. So.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So they're at that point. What did we say? 7, 8, 9, 10-1, 10-2, and the Chargers will catch up at some point too. And then they go Ravens, Chargers, Seahawks, Raiders. So I mean this team could easily be 13-3, 14-2. I don't think there's any catching them.
Yeah. No, and. It's one of those things where that game in New England might come back and haunt them, where they have to settle for the number 2 seed in the AFC when it's all said and done. That's obviously assuming that New England does what it's supposed to do. Yeah, but
that's got to be tough.
That's going to be real tough. Yeah, of course.
Because they still have. I mean, New England. Well, we'll move on. We've already talked about them a little bit. So we know they have the Packers coming up, and we know they have the Steelers coming up. 2 tough games. So. Not to get diving into every single team's schedule. Let's move forward to another game. We have the Redskins and the Giants. Redskins won this game 20-13. It was not a magical game. It was definitely a knockdown, grind 'em out kind of NFC East slugfest. But Peterson, man, fucking 33-year-old running back, looking like a kid again.
Yeah, he's just eating up that Giants defense. So 26 carries, 150 yards on the ground, and 1 score.
And he also had a reception. He had the 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah. Didn't he have a fumble as well?
He did. He definitely is fumble prone, but he's been that his whole career.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that that's anything new, but I just wanted to make sure that
it's a little cause for concern for the Redskins moving forward. But
I think they knew that going in when they signed him. He's going to have 6-7 fumbles a year. But
they don't have anybody else.
His quarterback doesn't turn it over. So
yeah.
How do we stand on these?
Yeah. So this was a game that was a little weird because it kept flipping from Pick'em to Washington -1 to Pick'em to -1. So Token and I were fine with Washington -1. Aaron actually went Washington money line
just in case,
just to make sure that we wouldn't have a consensus pick on this one. But we all got the point anyway.
I just wanted to make sure if it was 14-13 Redskins, you all pushed and I got the point. So, when in doubt, take a point. Not give it. All right. Well, not too much to say to that one. We'll move on.
Yeah, and let's just remember the fact that Eli, for as many yards as he put up, as he always does, he also threw 2 picks because Eli Manning cannot stop throwing interceptions. It's like his favorite thing in the world to do, aside from being in better commercials than his brother.
Really? You think he's in better commercials?
No, I think his brother's in better commercials.
His brother's in way better commercials.
No, I think the Eli, especially once Eli retires, once we see Eli in commercials, Eli will upstage Peyton for the first time in his life.
I have to call that one because have you seen that newest Nationwide commercial with Brad Paisley when they go to the baby shower?
Yes.
It's like low-key funny as shit, dude. He's like, oh, it's baby shoes, so close. Why do you get baby baby shoes? Baby can't walk. Should have got a life insurance policy. It's great. I don't know. It's low-key hilarious. I love he's like at the end, he's like, or that was the second commercial. He's like, I'm in a band. I'm finally in a band. We are not a band.
The best Peyton commercial ever, and it will never be topped, is the one where he's at the deli counter screaming, "Cut that meat! Cut that meat!" Because the next time he was in New England, the fans all stood up and cheered, "Cut that meat!" And it was the greatest thing ever.
I love the DirecTV, the fantasy football one where him and his brother, Eli, and it's like they made a rap video. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you have to get that up on YouTube. It's like football, fantasy, football. I don't even want to try because I'm white. But it's hilarious, dude.
I think I actually read
Epic rap battle.
that their third brother, Cooper Manning, is actually the richest of all three. I think he's like a day trader on futures or something, and he's made hundreds of millions of insane amounts of money after suffering an injury in high school, so he couldn't go pro.
Yeah, that's
everybody's always kind of said the legend was that he was the best one, too. So just think about how scary that could have been.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on from Redskins Giants. We'll talk about Fitzmagic. I've been holding on to this game for a little while, but I couldn't hold on any longer. The Buccaneers fall to the Bengals 34-37, putting them at 3-4 and putting the Bengals at 5-3. You look like you want to throw up there for a second.
God, it was a burp that caught me by surprise, and that's just never a good mix.
Is that like, what do you call you know how like in the other way they call it a shart, a fart that you just whoops? What do you call a burp that kind of a little bit comes up?
A verp?
I was about to say a verp.
A vommerp?
Yeah.
Anyways, Jameis Winston looked like a whole fuck ton of vommerp today.
I don't know. Von Mert might look better than Jameis Winston.
I don't know. He looked like a big shart.
He looked like he wanted to eat the L.
But finally, after he almost ate. Well, they did eat an L because of him. After four freaking interceptions, they finally decided to listen to our podcast and know that I believe that he was the best option, he being Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he provided us with not only a spark, a comeback, he also provided us with one of the greatest low-key moments I've seen on a football sideline ever. When they were lining up to take that game-winning field goal, Ryan Fitzpatrick is standing on the sideline going, it was great. He was blowing like he was going to affect the wind. And you know what? Knowing Fitzmagic, he might have. You never quite know. If he would have missed that field goal because Fitzpatrick is going, that would have been fantastic, added to the legend and the lore.
That would be good for years to come.
He's just great. I mean, again, you never know. Obviously, he's not the long-term future, but neither is number 3. So, as big of a Florida State guy as I am, I say, bold prediction, Jameis Winston goes for a 7th-round pick before Tuesday's trading. 7th or better, but I think they're literally just. I think Dirk Cutter, if you want to try to salvage this season, which again they're 3-4, the season right now is at the crossroads. Carolina, I believe, is 5-2, and the Saints are 6-1. So at this point, you're still playing all these teams head to head. You're at the crossroad right now. You cannot afford to lose games that are not in the division, and you obviously have to win the games that are. But I'm saying the games that you're not playing head to head with the rest of the NFC South, you got to win.
Where do you think he goes if somebody does?
Buffalo.
He likes Buffalo.
I think Miami might be in the market.
Jacksonville maybe too.
Maybe another Florida team.
Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
You never quite know. Just because he'll be traded doesn't mean he'll be traded to be a starter. You never know. I mean, he could be traded to New York.
I was just thinking that if he's not going to be a starter, a place that he may end up as a backup is Tennessee.
Tennessee is another one where he could be a starter because Mariota can't stay on the field.
That is very
Oakland.
One of the reasons why.
I mean, I could go down this list. Oakland, San Francisco. Those are potential starting spots. I mean, he's not going to. He could be a backup in. He could be a backup in Arizona to Josh Rosen. Obviously, Bradford's not. Mm-hmm. But I mean, any spot where he can go and learn for a couple of years under somebody, mature, stay out of the spotlight.
Take him to Denver.
That's another one. I mean, he's not going to start.
I mean, that'd be a crazy one, but I mean, I could see it happening. I mean,
Teddy Bridgewater was traded this year as well. There was no chance he's going to start, and he barely saw the field. I mean, he saw the field once, which I want to talk about that in the Sunday night game. That was pretty kind of crazy to think of that one, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Anyways, Fitzpatrick's got to be the starter going forward, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think that a guy, even though Fitzmagic, I actually just legitimately called him Fitzmagic instead of Fitzpatrick, even though I tried to say his real name that time. Even though
that is his real name.
Even though Fitzpatrick,
you should legally change it,
shows signs where he is a late 30s starter. He's not quick.
He is quick, though. Did you watch this game at all?
He's not that quick. Come on,
dude.
He's quicker than
He's
Brady.
faster than Winston. He made a scramble for like an 18-yard gain, and I was dumbfounded. He's not quick like Michael Vick or Cam Newton quick, but he has the smarts and the elusiveness to get the fuck out of the pocket. I'm looking at you, Jameis Winston. I'm looking at a picture of you right now. Yeah, going like this.
He's definitively smarter than Jameis Winston. I don't think.
Is that a Harvard joke?
Yes. I figured because they probably ham-handed the Harvard stuff during this game that I would try to be a little more subtle with it this time around.
Well, he came in late in the third. I don't know if they had enough time to hit the over on that one.
That's fair.
But like I said, they've got Panthers on the road, which should be a tough one if Fitzpatrick starts. Then they go Redskins, Giants, 49ers. A 3-game stretch where they should win 2 out of 3, could beat the Redskins at home. That puts them at let's see, if they go 3-0 in that stretch, that puts them at 6-5, back ahead. Then they go Panthers, Saints, Ravens, Cowboys, Falcons. I mean, that's the schedule you want to get yourself back in. I mean, the question is, in the NFC South, is 10-6 good enough?
For a wild card, but not for the division.
I don't know,
think.
dude. 10-6.
That's going to be real tough in the NFC.
I think 11-5, yes, but 10-6, no.
I don't think they're going 11-5, but I think realistically a 10-6 or 9-7 season. The question is even if they go 9-7 or better, you're not bringing either of these quarterbacks back, right?
I think Winston's definitively gone. I think you're right that he goes at the trading deadline. I don't think he goes for a 7th, but I think somebody will give up like a 5th this year and a 4th, 5th, maybe 6th next year, something like that.
I don't see that much going for him, but
The late round picks, I think teams are more willing to part with, especially
I could see
for
maybe a 5th and maybe a 7th in the future.
Yeah,
years,
but for a quarterback, especially because finding even mediocre quarterback play in this league is so rare.
Finding a backup with starting experience is huge.
Right, and especially somebody like Jameis Winston, who has shown that he can win games in this league.
Sure, absolutely.
I think you might find a team that's willing to overpay for him at that point. The question that I have is, for this game going into Cincinnati, if Fitzpatrick had been the starter at this, is it still Cincinnati -4, or how does that line move, do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because
it might be closer to pick 'em. It might be like 2.5.
I don't think it would move. Does Vegas believe Fitzpatrick's a better option of 4 points
4 points, I don't think.
on the road?
Cincinnati -2.5 is what came to mind when I thought of this question.
I was thinking 2.5, maybe the flat 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to tweet out to a couple of the sportsbook guys and just get their opinion on it, and
It might have moved it by a half point.
I don't think it would have moved it. Okay, I'll give you half a point. I think it moves a half a point at best.
From 3.5 to 3.
Wasn't it 4?
It was 4.
Yeah.
was
So it
it
would have been 4 to
Oh,
3.5.
I got it at 3.5. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still a loss.
But for our contest, just so that, because I haven't gone over this yet, this was a consensus pick for all three of us.
Okay,
First one we've had since week 4.
and we got it wrong.
Cincinnati -4. We got it wrong.
Fantastic.
We are now 1-3 on the season on consensus picks.
Yeah.
So I should just fade you guys whenever you're on a roll together.
Just listen to my locks. Make that the consensus pick.
Yeah.
What am I, 5-1 on my locks?
Something like that. Yeah, he's
After
pretty
this
good.
week, I actually haven't updated that yet. After this week, you are now 6-1.
6-1.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a game that actually was going to be my lock, the Steelers-Browns. This game, second half, was kind of in a torrential downpour, but the Browns really didn't provide any offensive firepower. Baker Mayfield, another average game, as the second coming of Jesus Christ after that, victory against the Jets. He's looked like a pretty mundane rookie quarterback. Nick Chubb, another 18 carry, right around 3.6 to 4.0 yards a carry. No real threats in the receiving. Jarvis Landry, who I thought was going to have a big year. He may have a big year, actually, with the number of receptions. But as far as actual receiving yards, it's going to be probably under 1,000 again. Let's see. He's got what? Jarvis Landry's got 41 catches already this year. He's projected for another 100-catch season. And he's projected for 918 yards.
Oh.
Yeah, he averaged 4 yards a carry as a receiver. That's not good. Antonio Brown seems to be finding a little bit of swagger, 74 and 2 touchdowns. And James Conner, in games like this, he's making people forget about Le'Veon Bell, who's going to dominate the headlines again.
Who?
Yeah.
Who that?
Well, he's going to dominate the headlines again this week. Is he going to show? Trading deadlines Tuesday. We've got a team like the Bucs who could use him. We got a team like Philly who could use him. You got a team like Houston who could use him. The Jets could use him if they can sign him long term, because obviously, they're not getting back into the thick of it this year. But
Minnesota, I think, could use him.
they can't afford him. They spent all their money on Cousins. Point being is that he's going to dominate the headlines again this year. But I believe I said Steelers and a laugher. Let's recap the picks.
Yeah, I do believe you said Steelers and a laugher, and if I had known that Cleveland's defense was going to stop playing after the second quarter, then I probably would have agreed with you. Instead, I agreed with Token, and we both took Cleveland plus the 8 points. Aaron was the only one smart enough to be on the right side of this one with Pittsburgh minus the 8.
Sweet. Any
Do that
thoughts?
little happy dance in your chair.
Any thoughts about this one? I mean, there's not really much to say, but if you have something you'd like to say.
I mean, moving forward with Baker, I mean, he looks like he can learn the rest of the year. Hopefully, during the offseason, they get him a few offensive weapons and maybe move forward with that team, too.
Remember when these guys were like the darlings of the preseason? Because Tyrod Taylor and Jarvis Landry and Josh Gordon and Carlos Hyde and
Yeah, I mean, they were making moves. They looked.
it seemed like they were like, trying.
They were no longer the laughing stock. Of the
Over
league.
the offseason, they were projected that they had the best offseason of every team.
Yeah. And then even when the season started, beyond the preseason, once the regular season started, having that tie with Pittsburgh at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people said this ain't the usual Browns. Mm-hmm. And
You're right. They got 2 wins. This ain't the usual Browns.
2 wins and a tie.
I still think this all goes back. Well, not all of it, but I think a big portion of this learning process for Baker Mayfield goes back to the fact that with the first and the fourth pick, I really believe they could have had Saquon and Baker Mayfield. There's no doubt in my mind they could have taken Saquon number 1, and I don't believe the Giants. I think the Giants would have taken Darnold. The Jets, I don't know. The Jets may have taken Mayfield, but they could have traded that fourth pick and some other shit and come back and got Mayfield if they loved him so much. I think they botched it.
I think so too, and that's why I said they should have taken Barkley at number 1. If I'm not mistaken.
No disrespect to Nick Chubb, but Barkley can do so much more than Nick Chubb can do. And the fact of the matter is
his football IQ is a lot higher as well.
But it's not even that. It's the fact that it takes Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson combined to do almost what Saquon Barkley can do by himself.
Yes. And, they effed up on that, for sure.
So, anyways, well, Browns being Browns. New regime, same shit. All right, the last of the early games, we had Ravens and Panthers, a 36-21 defeat by the Panthers at home, and it is finally making me, Mr. Ravens playoff contenders, start to be worried about my bet with Spike.
We had a bet on this?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Good. Wow.
Aaron has them to make the playoffs. You have them to miss it.
That is correct. I did forget about that, but thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, because you chickened out. I said that they'd be within 1 game, and you were like, "Meh."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, that's
So
just such a...
I had to sack up.
Well, I mean, you can't couch it like that. Either they make the playoffs or they don't. You can't say that they're close. Oh,
Well, I said they were contenders, and that doesn't always mean making a playoff. The Chargers were contenders last year. The Ravens were contenders last year, and they both got knocked out.
And the Bills somehow made it.
And the Bills made it. The Bills were definitely not contenders last year, and somehow they got in.
I think the crazy thing about the Ravens is, as of week, I think it was 7, they had given up 77 points for the entire season, and in the last 2 games, they've given up 60.
Yeah.
So this is telling me something about this Ravens team that is a little bit scary. Flacco picked off twice today, not a great look for him. And this is Carolina riding high after that comeback win last week. Looking like the Carolina that we thought they were going to be, playing good defensive football, Cam Newton protecting the ball, not making mistakes, playing 21 of 29 for 219 yards is a great stat line for him. 2 touchdowns, no picks is perfect.
And a rushing touchdown as well.
Yep, so these are the kinds of numbers that we want to see out of him. Christian McCaffrey not putting up the yards that I would expect him to put up, but in 14 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown is good enough.
I think he had a receiving touchdown, too.
Yes, he did. 4 receptions, only 11 yards, but he had the touchdown.
And that's kind of what I expected for him to be, is 40 yards on both rushing and receiving, averaging a game, and, a touchdown or 2 either way. So, I mean, the guy's too small. I mean, he's just too small to be a between the tackles running back to get you, he's too small to be a 100-yard rusher. So, Baltimore's season hangs in the balance the next 2 games. They've got 2 division games at home versus the Steelers versus the Bengals. They have a 3-game slate also with the Raiders as well. So the next 3 games, they got to win them. Because honestly, I believe they also have the Chiefs, the Falcons inside Atlanta, and at the Chargers. That if they're not 7-4 or 6-5 after those 3 games, they're done. And when I say done, I mean I believe that John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco will be gone at the end of the year.
Oh, bold prediction. I like it. The problem is going to be too if they lose to the Steelers, that only puts them at 4-5, but that puts the Steelers at 5-2-1. Assuming that loss, if they lose to the Ravens, then they go to 4-6.
They are the Ravens, but I know what you mean. The Bengals.
The Bengals. They go to 4-6. The Bengals go to 6-3.
6-3 if they win next week as well.
If the Bengals win next week, they're 7-3. No, 6-3.
They'll be 6-3 if they beat the Ravens and beat whoever they play this week.
Yeah, so these are the kinds of things that you have to look at because not only do they fall further and further behind, not just from the losses, but these are big divisional losses.
That's what I'm saying. These two next games, they get them at home. They're critical. And the thing is I can look at the Ravens and say, okay, yeah, the loss of the Saints kind of sucks. The loss of the Browns, I don't know what happened with the offense. I mean, they realistically should be. I don't know what would have happened with the Saints in overtime. Let's just say they won. They should be 6-2 right now. I mean, they got beat by the Panthers. They got beat by the Bengals, but they've beat good teams this year too. So I just don't know what to make of this team. I mean, it's not like they're like, oh, they're really good at home and really bad away. Well, they've won games on the road. They've won games at home. I don't know what to make of the Ravens.
They're not consistent, and that's worrisome.
Yeah. And the problem is I would feel a little bit better about the Ravens, or I feel a little bit better about my thought process of the Ravens if Joe Flacco looked like he gave a shit.
Yeah, and that doesn't even look like anything.
But this whole Lamar Jackson coming out on the field thing for rushing plays and putting Joe Flacco as a receiver where he doesn't move, it's not necessary. I understand you're trying to get Lamar Jackson in, but Lamar Jackson has thrown one pass before Flacco got benched this game. But Lamar Jackson has thrown one pass before. So it's not like it's unpredictable offense. You're bringing in Lamar Jackson to run the football. You're not fooling anyone when Joe Flacco lines up as a split end and literally does not move. This helps no one.
It's like the one with the Browns where who was it?
And you know who Lamar Jackson threw that pass to? Flacco.
Did he really?
Yeah, he threw it away, but it was like he threw it away at. It was a weird. It was just this. I understand you want to get your first round pick involved in the offense, but this makes no sense.
Yeah, the only way that this makes any sense is if this is the long con, where they're waiting for the week 14, 15 games where they split Flacco out wide. The other team doesn't bother to cover him, and then Flacco goes 40 yards downfield, and Jackson hits him for a touchdown.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty funny. The one time, every time I watch him line up, he literally does not move.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think it's worth it for them to do it over the long con for one touchdown in a late game that may not matter if they're already out of the running.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. All right, let's go into Colts Raiders. This was Anthony's lock of the week.
Don't you want to know how we picked this game?
Did we not pick this game? We did. I did this game bad.
Yeah. I figured that's
why he wanted to move on.
I really did.
That's why he was trying to skip it because he had Baltimore money line.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Token.
Fuck off. Let's move on.
Token and I.
Yes, you're right.
Both had Carolina plus the 2.5, taking that home dog, going to the window and making some money on that one.
And I got
and he got the bonus points.
And he got the bonus point. Yes.
Oh wait, hold on. No, yeah, that's 15. I'm like, oh wait, hold on. Let's see. I thought that was only 13 points. I'm like, wait, they only lost by 13.
It's more that they lost by than the Lions. So
that is true. You're correct.
As bad as that sounds.
All right, now can we move on? I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Go ahead.
All right,
let's move on.
So not only did he get those bonus two, he also got here on his lock the Colts Raiders. Based on what looks like the Raiders stopped playing football in the fourth quarter. Because this game was actually pretty tight for most of the way.
I'm surprised they actually played 2 quarters out of the 4.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Final score 42-28. How did we do in this one?
We were all on Indianapolis in this one. Token minus the 3 is his lock of the week. I also had the minus 3, not as a lock, just as a regular pick. Aaron went kind of cowardly and took the Indianapolis money line.
I gotta get points, dog.
Yeah, no, you got your point. So there you go. Congratulations on that one. This was a game that to the window I hammered pretty hard in play when it got to halftime.
Yeah, you even texted us that.
Yeah, you said it like in split seconds of the line opening up for the money line. It went from minus 120 to minus 125.
Just within milliseconds of it opening, it went.
I mean, even then, going into the fourth, you were like still down by 7 at that point. You couldn't have felt great, and then all of a sudden, literally, I watched the end of this game, and they look like they just stopped.
Boom, boom, boom.
They stopped playing football. I don't know how anyone else to explain it. Marlon Mack's a beast. I know I've been tooting him for the weeks when he was injured and that he mattered, and you guys probably didn't believe me, but I feel like now that they have a running game, it's huge for Andrew Luck. It's huge for him.
Yeah, that takes.
It also keeps their mediocre defense off of the field.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the blow off of Luck in the defense for sure.
Exactly. So let's see. What do we have here? Oh, I actually meant to say this in the Browns when we talked about the Browns game. Do you remember when I took was it first half under 23 Chargers-Browns game?
Yes.
Oh,
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was pissed because of that false start.
About this.
They fired that referee.
Yep.
They fired the
I knew you
official.
were going to go that way with that.
I meant to talk about that in the Browns game, or even, well, the Chargers didn't play, but I meant to talk about the Browns game. How crazy is that? It's not going to bring my money back, but it's still a little vindication.
Yeah, I mean, it was blatant, and at least the league
It was
kind of
so
did something about
bad.
it.
It was, and you get on Twitter and you're like, I know I can't be the only one that saw that, and there was just a laundry list of just people hashtagging it and stuff, and I'm just like, I know I can't be the only one. So I'm like, that's a false start, and then literally, this Cyrus City Cleveland thought it too.
Out of all the bad beats so far this year, that's definitely towards the top.
Feels like a
three
tough
of them.
one, yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Speaking of, you wanted to call me chicken shit on the Colts money line. Let's go over here to Spike's chicken shit lock of the week that almost wasn't.
Oh my God! Yeah, this one. Unfortunately, because of the Golden Knights schedule, the way the game was starting, puck drop there was about half an hour after this game ended, so I didn't actually get to see the end of this game. But when the Rams were hosting the Green Bay
Were
Packers,
you driving there sweating it?
it was so goddamn
Didn't we talk about
tense.
that last night?
Yeah.
How Spike's going to be in the arena during the anthem going, motherfucker! I think you're walking to the arena at that point.
Yeah, I nearly was, because every time I looked up or looked at the score, it was, Green Bay in the lead. I think the Rams came in and took the lead at one point pretty late, but then Green Bay got it right back. So finally, the Rams pulled off the win with that relatively last second field goal,
2 minutes left, yeah.
getting me my lock of the week, Rams money line win.
Speaking of locks and
Whoops.
covering the spread,
Uh-oh. I just realized I made a mistake on the calculations here.
Uh-oh.
We're good. Go ahead.
Anybody watch the end of this game, see Gurley fall down at the 3-yard line?
No, but I read about it. I saw the replay of it. So
That almost would have screwed me. I had Packers +8. I bet this game Packers +8. I watched Gurley run in off the left side. I'm like, fuck, and then he just stops.
had he gone in, Vegas would have made a killing off that play.
That many people have the Packers?
Yes.
Well,
I remember.
if they kick the extra point, it goes to 9. Yeah, and there was only like a minute left, so I don't think Aaron Rodgers was gonna...
Early in the day, Westgate was getting hammered by Packers money.
Oh, wow, yeah, because this game...
Of the handle, when I was going to the Gold Coast about 6 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, they said 91% of the action was on the Packers.
Well, I mean, it was crazy because Aaron Rodgers, when we finished recording Saturday night / Sunday morning, it was about midnight Pacific time when that happened, the line was 9. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at covers right now. It says the line closed at 7.5.
Yeah.
So in the hours leading up to the game, that line got bet down. And then, yeah, when Gurley got towards the end zone and then stopped, he apparently said, forget fantasy, forget Vegas, we just wanted to win the game.
What did you see after the game? I don't know which outlet. He retweeted somebody's tweet, and he goes, "Oh, what was the spread?" His personal Twitter, he came out and said, "Oh, what was the spread?" So he literally, I mean, you could see it, because I was like, "Oh, fuck!" Oh, he stopped. Then he just fell down.
Sweet baby Jesus.
I'm not a Rams fan. I have never liked Los Angeles teams in my life. I think I'm going to buy a Gurley jersey. I just, the way he's playing,
You got me 3 points in our weird podcast.
his
match.
attitude on and off the field, like, I love what he's doing. I think he's a fantastic, phenomenal player. I think I'm going to end up buying one of his jerseys.
So let's recap the picks. You kind of already figured out where some of us are.
Yeah, so I was on the Rams money line. Aaron and Token both took Green Bay plus. When we recorded, it was +8.
8, right? Yeah, okay.
And Aaron, you took that as your blind bet, so you got the extra point for that, which is what I forgot to calculate when we were talking off air before we got on here. I only gave you the 1 point for that. You should have gotten 2. So this is a little bit closer than I think we were realizing here.
Wahoo! Not really much to take. Really a good game if you watched it. The best game of the late slate, which I've watched the last probably 5 or 6 weeks of the late slate, and they've been a lot of bad games. Not bad in terms of action or talent, but, there's a lot of bad teams on the West Coast. Cardinals, 49ers always seem to be here. The Rams are crushing everybody, and the Raiders suck. So it's nice to get a game where we actually had the Rams having to play football at this point. And I think we talked about this on one of our shows. Where would they? I put this on a poll on Twitter too. Where would they go down first? Not a lot of people bet, or not any of us said the Packers. I think we all said either the Saints or the Chiefs.
Yep. Yeah, I thought the Chiefs for sure was the one that they really had to worry about.
I think it's the Saints, but we'll find out.
But they still got a big game against the Saints.
Even on the poll, I said I think my comment on Twitter was that they lose Week 17 against the Cardinals. Not because I think the Cardinals are a better team.
Because they're 15-0 and don't give a shit?
Exactly.
They play the 49ers Week 17.
Or 49, yeah. Whoever the last game is. Because I think they rest everybody.
Somebody put 2019 preseason. I don't know who it was, but somebody on Twitter put 2019 preseason because they're going to run the table.
Oh, no.
That's pretty good.
No, they'll go 16-0 in the regular season and lose to the Saints in playoffs. So.
Oh.
Maybe. You never know.
All right.
Well, let's look at Green Bay's schedule here. They're 3-3-1. I mean, they're not out of the NFC North by any stretch. They're half a game back of first place. I don't know how you would classify Minnesota. Chicago's 4-3-0. Minnesota's 4-3-1. Green Bay's 3-3-1, and Detroit's 3-4. I mean, that's literally it's got to be the tightest race without looking at everything. If it's not the tightest race, it's one of the tightest races in football right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for the AFC South because every team's so close, but
but even then, I think at 3-5, the Colts are 2 games back.
3-5 to 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, this game is literally one game. I mean, you have Detroit at 3-4, Chicago at 4-3, and then the 2 sandwiched teams that have tied each other this year.
Yeah,
so
the ties are screwy.
The Packers are looking tough though, as far as their schedule. They did look good in this game, but then they go at Patriots, home versus the Dolphins, at Seahawks, at Vikings.
I mean, I'll say from the eye test, I think the Packers have looked the worst out of the 4 teams in the NFC North.
I could concur with that.
Over the course of the season?
Over the course of the season. The full season, I think the Packers have looked the worst, even though they're still 3-3-1.
I would disagree with that.
Who in the NFC
Maybe
North
Lions.
has
I would say the
worse?
Lions, week 1, pulls that bar down. Minnesota losing to Buffalo pulls that bar down.
Yeah, those are one-game stretches where they've looked.
Who have the Packers lost to? Don't look.
I have no idea. I'm not
Exactly. They've lost to the Redskins, which they looked bad in that game.
The Lions.
They lost to the Lions, which they had to play catch up, and they've lost to the Rams in a tough game they maybe could have won. Minnesota has lost to the Buffalo Bills. I call for the check on that one.
But the Packers barely won a game against the 49ers too.
That is fair. They did. That's true. I don't agree with your statement. I'm not saying you're so far off the boat, but I think Detroit's week 1 against the Lions. He's going, yes, sweet.
No, pulling the bar down.
Oh yeah, Detroit's week 1 against the Lions. They also lost to the 49ers, but that was with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's a cross between Detroit and Minnesota, with Green Bay not too far behind. But I mean, even Chicago's lost to
The Dolphins.
your lovable Dolphins that you've called a fraud.
Yeah.
Finkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is
Patriots.
Finkel.
They're still a fraud.
Yeah.
They lost to the Patriots too.
Well, that's not. And then they lost to the Bears when they blew the lead in week 1.
Yeah.
So
No, that's to the Packers.
I mean, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I said they lost to the Bears, but I meant the Packers. You know what I meant.
Yeah. Well, the Bears lost that game for them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bears lost that game. So, I mean, they let drugged up Aaron Rodgers come back and beat them. Anyways, let's move on to the most riveting game in the NFL this weekend. And that was the 49ers and the Cardinals. I know you guys have been chomping at the bit to talk about this one, so I'll just let Spike start with his picks and his analysis. Token will go over to you after that, and then we'll just move on.
So this was a game where
Two storied franchises.
we were kind of all over the place on this one. Token took Arizona money line as his blind bet, so you got the 2 points for that.
Big fourth quarter for you.
Aaron had Arizona plus the 1.5. I went the other way. San Francisco minus the 1.5, which I
Did not work
can't
out.
justify at this point. Yeah, I mean, this was 2 bad teams playing bad football. and not very much fun to watch except for the safety in the first quarter.
I was about to say that's probably the most interesting part of this game.
Token, how would it feel if the 49ers went 1-15 this year and the only team they were able to beat was your Detroit Lions?
If you told me Jimmy G was the starter for all the year, for the whole season, I'd be surprised by that.
That's true. I mean, it's hard to
Yeah.
really grade the 49ers, but they were, 1-3 with him?
Yeah, I mean,
Not like they were going places. They weren't going places this year anyways. They were the sexy team, and always love to fade the sexy team.
yes.
Josh Rosen, decent day, nothing too crazy. Most of that was in the fourth quarter. David Johnson with his typical 60 yards rushing. Christian Kirk came up with a big catch, and Larry Fitzgerald got going. So I mean,
Over 100 yards finally.
Yeah. Always fun to watch him on the field.
Yeah, you can tell he just. I'm trying to liken him to somebody, in another sport, but it just no matter how down times get or how up times get, Larry Fitzgerald just plays hard always.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of somebody like in baseball, because obviously we just had the World Series tonight, but who just played on a losing team for so long. And
Andrew McCutcheon.
Nah, well, that's what they look alike.
No, but the Pirates were bad for a lot of years, even with him in that lineup.
Maybe Cal Ripken Jr.
Well, they were good, actually. They were
Well,
good
they
in
were
the
good for a
90s.
while, but yeah, and then towards the end they were awful. But he was still going out and playing hard. And
I think he just went out and played. I don't know if he played hard, but anyways, point being is,
marginal.
I mean, I'll think of somebody here, but it just, it's hard to find a lot of guys in today's professional sports that when things aren't going good, they still give it their all. That's, I guess, really
maybe Inchiro
more of the testament.
of Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think we have much more to talk about on this game.
No, I mean, this game was...
No,
not-
we already fell off topic and
Let's talk
went
about
to
the
baseball.
game that I did not watch a single lick of because I was watching the Red Sox win the World Series. I don't think you watched a single lick of it because you were watching the Golden Knights
That's correct.
win in a crazy penalty shot in overtime, which you never really hear about.
Yeah, that was a great one.
So you're going to review the picks and you're going to talk about the game because neither of us know shit about what went on.
So, this was a game where, once again, we all lost a point.
Yeah, I had Vikings money line on this one.
Yeah, well, I had Vikings money line. You had Vikings +1.
Oh, that's right, because I grabbed the point.
Yeah, just the spread was just so close that it wasn't worth it. And Token went with the total over 53.5, missing by 4 points on that one.
Yeah, I thought the Vikings would have a shot at them to put in the end zone and make it a little tighter, and that didn't happen. But glad the Saints won, though, so I can't complain about that.
I would have been okay giving you a point if Adam Thielen could have gotten a touchdown in that late garbage time because I really needed him to be. But she actually had 100 and
I was hoping more
103
for
yards and a touchdown.
Rudolph to get the touchdown.
My fantasy league, I got Thielen, and I need some points because, like I said, I'm ahead by
9, but
9, and he has Kenyon Barner, so
should still be good, but
you never quite know.
looking a little closer.
40-yard touchdown run, and I'm already out of it. So
Well, I picked up Boyd a few weeks ago, and he's put up points like crazy. So
yeah. So, anyways, well, talk to us about this game. It seems like the Saints controlled the game from the start.
yeah, I actually missed the first half. I was still sleeping at this time, and woke up and I was happy the Saints were up by 4 at half, and kind of watching between the baseball and the hockey and this, and yeah, Saints looked like they controlled this game. Clock management between the two-headed monster Ingram and Kamara, even though they didn't put up fantastic numbers, but they controlled that opening up the pass for Breeze and making some key plays receiving, actually, too, especially that shovel touchdown pass for Kamara from Breeze.
You all right over there, Princess?
I'm looking at next week's lines because I was
I think I know what you're looking at.
Well, I was looking ahead because when you were talking about New Orleans, I noticed that they're matching up against the Rams. The early line is actually the Rams is a 1-point favorite in that game.
That's going to be a tough one.
So I was trying to jump on that because I figured that was going to get bet up at least a little bit. I wanted to jump on it now. William Hill doesn't have it, but what I saw that was making me laugh. See if you can guess the game.
I just looked at it, so I'll let Aaron guess before I say anything.
All right.
Why is it making you laugh?
What I'm looking at right now, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So guess what the current line's at right now? After he said the Rams are a 1-point favorite right now, and
the Saints are got to be bet up huge. What are we talking about? I'm lost.
for next week.
For next week's game, I am laughing about an early line that got posted. That
It's not the Rams Saints.
it's not the Rams game.
Okay, because that's what I thought we were talking about.
It is, but I was laughing. I got distracted, and this is a game that neither you nor I watch, so I wasn't going to listen to Token fucking babble on anymore. So I got a little distracted with some of the lines for next week.
Oh, all right.
There's a laugher on there that is ridiculous until you realize who they're playing, and then it kind of makes sense.
I'm trying to just pull up the schedule here. A laugher until you realize it kind of makes sense. Let's see. You already talked about the Kansas City Cleveland game. I'm gonna just say the Chicago at Buffalo game.
No.
All right, I'm lost. Go ahead.
Raiders San Francisco game.
The San Francisco 49ers are a 3.5-point favorite over the Oakland Raiders next week.
It means they're a 0.5-point favorite on neutral field.
Yes. But the fact that they are the Niners
see
are
it currently at 3.
3.5-point favorites.
I see it currently at 3, and 82% of the money is on Oakland right now.
I like San Francisco in that spot.
Yeah, William Hill has it at 3.5.
I have a feeling this line's going to move about to the
I don't find
2-point
that.
spread.
I don't find that as crazy. I mean, I don't know.
I think it goes to about
What's
2.5,
Green Bay, New
maybe
England
2.
right now? 5?
No, it opened New England as a touchdown favorite. It's moved down to 6.
Okay.
I
fair
see
enough.
6.5. Yeah.
Same.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up week 8 in the NFL, obviously minus the Monday night game, which you are probably watching as you're listening to this podcast. We got a couple more minutes left in the NFL recap here. What I want to do is I want to play a little game.
Ooh, fun.
I'm going to give you a player, and you're going to say yes or no that they will be traded by the NFL trade deadline.
All right.
You guys ready for this?
Sure.
Demaryius Thomas.
No.
I would say no. Yeah.
You don't think he's going anywhere?
No,
No.
I don't think too many people want him, and what they probably want in return for him is probably overpriced.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the bigger issue. Obviously, the West is a little bit too crazy. I don't know that they can do much in the West with or without him, but I don't think that's a piece that they want to give up right now. Because the Chiefs, I mean, we've seen it too many times where young quarterbacks come in, go gangbusters in 1 year, and then they flame out the next.
Fair enough. All right, let me preface this by saying his 5th-year option was picked up this year. He's in a contract year, and he's already come out and said he doesn't believe he'll be with the Packers next year. Ha-ha, Clinton Dix.
Oof.
I could say that is a possibility. I think they'll try and get as much as they can out of him, but they'll settle with something marginal and probably get like a second-round pick depending where he goes.
I say no. I think the Packers' defense isn't great to begin with, and to give up a piece that's actually halfway decent, I think hurts them more than helps them, especially if they want to try to make a play this year.
All right. Deshaun Jackson of the Bucks, especially before the game, he said he came out and said he'd like a trade. Now, if Fitzpatrick's the starter going forward, he was obviously much better statistically under Fitzpatrick than he was under Jameis Winston, even though he had a 60-yard touchdown under Winston this week. Deshaun Jackson.
I say yes.
I say yes, and whoever picks him up probably gets a good value on that for sure.
Janoris Jenkins. Giants seem to be tearing it down. Whether they 1-7 at this point. They've already traded Harrison and Apple, and Jenkins is another pretty decent quarterback who is apparently generating interest around the league.
That wouldn't surprise me. I'll say yes, he's traded.
I would say yes. I believe the Giants' fire sale still continues.
Patrick Peterson.
No.
Plausible, but unlikely.
Tyrod Taylor.
Ooh.
Yes, but who really wants him?
No, like we talked about backup quarterbacks.
yeah.
Would you rather have Tyrod Taylor or Jameis Winston?
Tyrod Taylor.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, Jameis Winston.
Probably.
I think Tampa actually holds on to him because We just said backup quarterbacks who have experience winning in this league are very
with your
valuable.
playbook, yeah.
And if you don't have Jameis Winston as your number 2, who does that leave for Tampa Bay?
I don't even know.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
All right, LaShawn McCoy.
Oh. No, I can't imagine him going anywhere.
Not even back to Philly with J.J. out?
No, I've heard that rumor, but what Philadelphia would have to give up this year, since they're playing mediocre, they need to rebuild. I think they're better off doing that through the draft than through McCoy, who may not have that many years left on him.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Devontae Parker, Miami wide receiver.
Yes. I believe somebody who's in the market for a talented wide receiver such as him, and will probably get good value. Probably trade 4th round-ish.
It says, according to this, they're interested in a 3rd round, so it could be a
Third, yeah.
couple of 4th or something.
I could see somebody giving up a 3rd, but it wouldn't surprise me if
They sell for 4th.
Yeah, well, or the Deshaun Jackson market dries up a little bit, and then nobody goes after gives Miami a worthwhile offer.
Derek Carr.
Yes, absolutely.
I say no. I say Gruden lets him fizzle out and then
Dumps him before Vegas.
dumps him before Vegas. I think this is the build for the future, and if your quarterback stinks, all the better because you get a better draft pick out of it.
It's true. They got 3 in the next round, or the next draft next year. So
Yeah.
and theirs will probably be the highest.
Yeah. I mean, what could happen next? I mean, they trade Derek Carter, have Marshawn Lynch start at quarterback.
I mean, could you imagine trading him to the Giants right now and picking up their 1st round pick and having 4 and potentially 2 of them being in the top 10?
Oh,
Probably 2 of them top 3.
Yeah, even that. Yeah, you never know. All right, and last but not least, Le'Veon Bell.
yeah.
I would say most likely, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see Pittsburgh having him play this year, so.
All right, well, that was a fun little game to kill some time at the end.
Yeah. Well, we need to see if we want to change Super Bowl picks.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
Super Bowl picks. Yeah.
We still have that contest going on.
I'm still, Bengals and Rams?
You are still Bengals,
And I still owe $1.
Yes, you do owe $1.
I'll throw another buck in there,
All right.
and I will go. I'll keep the Rams,
Okay.
and I will take, just to be different from Token, I will take the Steelers. Because I like the Chiefs, but that's not fun for anybody.
Yeah, I'm still staying with mine right now.
Of course you are. Rams and Chiefs.
Yeah.
Rams and Chiefs, and I'm
Once again, thank you, fake token.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rams' value has gone down slightly, but I still think they're easily the favorite to win the Super Bowl, which they currently are. So
Yeah, I mean they're I don't know even if they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
they are betting wise.
Oh, betting wise, yeah.
Currently they're the betting favorite.
I guess it would be whoever they're playing in the Super Bowl is what I'm getting at, whether or
Yeah.
not they would be. Because if they're playing New England, I'm not sure that the Rams would be a favorite there, just because of the experience
Probably
of Belichick
not,
and Brady.
but
Ooh, that would be close. I think
I
it would
think
be
it'd be
damn
about
close.
1.5 would be the line or so.
Yeah, I mean it would be damn close, but
I
yeah,
think it's less than a
the
field
question would be right now is pop open William Hill, or I'm going to try to pop it open here.
goal. Yeah.
And they have a bet. Obviously, it's a futures bet.
I already know what you're talking about. It's
AFC versus NFC.
Oh, you're going a different way than I thought you were. I thought you were going to say Rams to win the Super Bowl or yes or no.
No. I'm not worried about that. I don't like having that one team. But the thing is, okay, here, futures to win. No, that's not what I want.
It's not currently up. But
Oh, it's in the pregame, right? Oh, it's
Yeah,
not
but
currently.
NFC is
it comes up
currently
during the
favorite.
week. I think the NFC is like a minus 130 and the AFC is plus 110.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 is currently in the
So
spread or
in
something.
the AFC, you got to figure you can probably get. We got about a minute here. We could probably get Chiefs, Patriots, Steelers. In the NFC, what do you have? Rams and
Saints
and Saints. Do you take the dog in that spot, and then hopefully by that time, if the Rams or the Patriots are in the Super Bowl,
you can get middle money.
they're a favorite over like the Saints or the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be such an odd spot because we need to know. I see, and that's why I don't like those AFC NFC generic matchups. I need to know who the actual teams are before I start putting money down on it. That's why I'm saying New England has to. I think they're a favorite over the Rams if those are the two that meet up, which coincidentally are my picks for this, and I'm not changing them. So.
All right, anyways, we want to thank our sponsors, VGK Pop Sockets, Chai Poker, and, of course, 12-Ounce Sports Radio for putting us on 4 times a week. Let's update the stats. We've got about 15 seconds here.
So right now I put up a nothing burger, so I'm sitting at -4 and in the basement of this. Token actually put up 5 points this week. Aaron, you put up 7 points this week, but Token still has the lead, 24-23.
24-23, and I have my lock of the week.
You still have your lock of the week. Yes.
All right, go Pats, go. Hopefully you're up 43-0 right now and the game just ends.
So you gain 4.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, we appreciate it again. For Spike, for Token, Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.